Hello, everybody. Today I will be making my presidential prediction for how the 2024 presidential election will go 1 year from now. The day this video is released, the presidential election will be occurring. So this is just what I think will happen. I will account for independence, my personal opinion, and I will account for, just the general electability of each candidate and everything they have done throughout their political career, including what they have done now. Without further ado, let's get into this. I will be starting with the safe Republican states. So, for safe Republican states, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota as well, all of Nebraska besides the 2nd District, Oklahoma, Kansas, Utah, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, South Carolina, and I will be also adding Iowa and Ohio. For the safe Democrat states, I will be adding California, Washington, Oregon, Hawaii, New Mexico, Colorado, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, all of Maine, as long with the 1st District, Washington, D.C. as well, and Illinois. So these are the states I believe are somewhat competitive, or at the very least will be interesting enough in the 2024 election that I can really talk about. Now, I will include in this prediction that I think Donald Trump will, as of now, handily carry the Republican nomination. Current polls support this. The current base of the GOP supports this. It is more likely than not that Donald Trump gets the GOP nomination. It is more likely that several incumbents and senators or governors will actually lose their seats in the 2024 primaries than Trump has it, not getting the primary. Anyhow, we start off with competitive states. So I'm going to talk about this states that I think are certainly going to go one way or another. I will give a little talk about Ohio and Iowa since they are considered by many to be swing states. However, given Trump is more likely than not going to get out the base in 2024, a large portion of rural voters themselves will also be getting out, and he does attract that, the more homelanders to get out and vote. I think both states they may not be exactly safe, but there's no way he loses them. Same thing for Florida. What I'll put that likely, Texas, and North Carolina. And I will include Alaska in there. Alaska is an interesting state, typically solid Republican. We have seen it move away from us in the recent years. So I'll put it as this. But my first take about the 2024 election is that Trump will carry every single state that he won in 2020, no matter what. Now, could I be wrong on this? Yes, but that's just my opinion and my take. If you were to lose a state, it would either be North Carolina or Alaska. Recent polls and general movement in the state of Texas indicates that while yes, it is moving towards the Democrats, generally right now has slowed down and is moving back towards Republicans, given many elections and other things that have occurred in Texas within recent years. All right. I will also be giving Donald Trump Maine's 2nd District. I think it'll be likely, however, which brings him a grand total of 235 electoral votes. Trump has a decent enough pathway to victory, and I think in many instances we will see him overperforming in 2020, and a lot of things will change from the 2020 election. I think certainly speaking, Joe Biden has lost a bit of his electability. He's not as popular as he was in 2020. He's a fairly unpopular president. He is starting to lose that Midwestern support. A lot of people are against Biden. He's pretty unpopular on all sides. I don't necessarily know if Democrats are going to be as motivated to vote for Biden as they were in 2020, as I think a lot of Republicans are motivated to vote for Trump in 2024 compared to Joe Biden. But hey, we'll see what happens. So the next state I'm going to put is Biden states that I think he's going to win, handily, or at least by enough, being Minnesota, Virginia, Nebraska's 2nd, are all going to be states, and New Hampshire are all states that are relatively competitive. However, I don't see a reality where, Biden loses them reasonably. Maybe if it's a great night for Republicans, Maybe they barely get Minnesota. Same thing. Maybe they barely get Virginia if it's a great night. And I just think there's no chance, even on a great night, that New Hampshire flips red again, considering the trends in the state and how it performed in 2022 midterms. So that brings the 6 most competitive states. I will be giving, of course, Joe Biden one of them right now. I think he will win Michigan. I think it is unlikely that Trump wins Michigan, although there is still a great chance. However, the state has shifted a lot unfavorably against Republicans. I think it'll be very hard for Republicans to pick up the state again, given how Gretchen Whitmer has, enacted policies that make it easier for Democrats to ballot harvest and gain vote and whatnot. But we shall see what happens. So this is the big 5. And I'm going to give Trump the state of Wisconsin. Now, this is a very interesting state for many reasons. It did re-elect Ron Johnson to the United States Senate in 2024. It didn't elect a Republican governor. They kept Tony Evers. And Republicans did lose the the Supreme Court seat recently. I don't think it's over for them, though. That was a generally low turnout election. And while Supreme Court seats do matter a lot, I think to the degree when we account for turnout and the rhetoric and messaging and funding, it's not an accurate representation of how Wisconsin is going to vote in more upcoming elections. It could be tilt, so I'm going to put it as tilt because this is a toss-up state at the end of the day. But I think Trump has the better chance of carrying the state than Joe Biden, given a lot of the factors and given a lot for rural turnout and a lot of Trump's general populist appeal that he is messaging forward relatively compared to 2020, which is how he did lose a lot of these Rust Belt states. The next state, I think Trump has a better than not chance of winning. This controversial take, many people don't side with me on this, many people do. I think Nevada. Nevada is shifting heavily to the right. Republicans picked up the governorship and lieutenant governorship. They would have won a majority of the state Senate and a majority of the congressional districts within Nevada had it not been gerrymandered in Democrats' favor. Republicans did very well in recent elections. And had we seen the rural turnout we saw in 2020, Adam Laxalt would have actually been the United States Senator elected. However, in the 2022 midterms, the biggest thing that we can look at is that rural areas didn't turn out like many people expected them. And, that comes with a lot of things. I think when Trump is on the ballot, he does get the rural vote out. That's why instead of, Republicans losing the state by 5 points or 10 points in 2018 or 2022, Trump only lost the state by 1. So I think when we count for the rural vote, if the changes keep the same, if RFK takes enough votes away from Biden, which the polls are indicating that it takes, when we compare both of the votes RFK takes away, he takes away a bit more from Biden than Trump. Not a substantial amount, but I think just enough that Trump will win the state in 2024. So we have 3 states left, 3 incredibly important states to win. If Trump wins them all, Biden loses. But Trump must carry at least 2 to win. Trump must get at least Georgia and Arizona, or he must get Georgia and Pennsylvania. Oops, sorry about that. Or he must get Pennsylvania and Arizona. Now, it's going to be very hard for Trump in some of these states more than others. I think more likely than not, Trump will lose the state of Arizona. I think it'll be close to Republicans in the state. Things are going to be very interesting Senate-wise. I do expect Gallego to win the Senate seat as of now, but that doesn't necessarily mean Carrie Lake has no chance. She did get 49% of the vote in the 2022 midterms, and she's decently right-wing, so we'll see what happens. She did decent enough for a Republican in the state. Of course, not good enough to win, but still decent enough in the state. And Trump, this is a hard one. I don't know how the RFK is going to necessarily affect the state. I don't think it's going to affect every state different. I see more of the, these moderate Republicans voting for RFK over Trump because a majority of the electors in, Maricopa County are, I think, Republicans. I think I could be wrong on that, but the more moderate Republicans who, instead of voting for a Lake, they're going to vote for a Hobbs. So I'm going to give Biden the state by a tilt margin. Moving on to Pennsylvania and Georgia. Now, my hot take is that I think... Oops, wrong person. I think Joe Biden will actually carry the state of Pennsylvania. Not Joe Biden. Donald Trump will actually carry the state of Pennsylvania in the 2024 elections. And I say this for many reasons. I think we will see rural turnout. And there has been an initiative in the government to register more people, and as many people as possible. And we have seen recently that actually it's benefiting Republicans more than it's benefiting Democrats. That is just now. Will it flip-flop? Yes. But I think Republicans are going to, if they focus on ballot harvesting and other these initiatives that a lot of these other parties and people in other statewide offices do themselves, then I think they have a decent chance of picking up the state. Let's remember, Joe Biden is not Scranton Joe anymore. He is White House Joe. He cannot appeal to the same demographics as he did in 2020. And I think given a lot of things, Donald Trump does narrowly win the state, winning him the presidency by the bare minimum. However, I think he'll win a little more secure than this, and I'm going to give Donald Trump the state of Georgia. So Georgia is an interesting state. It voted for every single Republican in the 2022 midterms, every single one of them. If you ran for statewide office or statewide election in Georgia in 2022, you won. With the exception of Herschel Walker. Now, Herschel Walker is an exceptionally awful candidate. I have no idea what they were thinking. No idea at all. But given the chances of the more moderate voters that didn't vote for Trump in 2022, that voted for Joe Biden in 2020, I feel like they're probably going to go for RFK. And we are seeing a little bit of data that indicates this as well. I think given the moderate vote that RFK is going to take away, he's probably going to get a large portion of votes that normally went for Joe Biden, giving state to Trump narrowly, giving it a win of Donald Trump to 286 electoral votes to Joe Biden's 252. Now, I don't know how necessarily things are going to change. They are certainly going to change. This is not set in stone prediction, but this is just out there. So when the time approaches, I can look back at this and see how things have changed, how my opinions have changed, how the demographics have changed, how the data has changed, all the things like that. There is a war going on right now in the Middle East. I know, surprising. And I think that will very much influence the election, not to the degree many people are predicting, but that will influence it. And there are hundreds and hundreds of things that influence until then. So, without further ado, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you disagreed, tell me why. If you agree, tell me why. And please consider supporting my channel further. Alright, thank you. See you next time. God bless.